Hey everyone, this is Rosemary Coates in Silicon Valley. I'm your host for this edition of Women in Manufacturing. I'm the executive director of the Reshoring Institute, where we help companies bring back manufacturing to the US or expand their manufacturing here. I also run a global supply chain consulting firm called Blue Silk Consulting, where we help clients with global supply chain projects and where I also do expert witness work. On these podcasts, we interview accomplished women in business and ask them to share their experiences with us. And today I'm thrilled to have our guest, Shirley Dewi, the Senior Vice President of Quality Assurance and Client Services at IAPMO. We are going to be talking about quality inspection and audits and standards in manufacturing. And although those topics may not be super high on your list every day, they are absolutely essential in the backbone of a good manufacturing environment. So welcome, Shirley.
Well, thank you so much, Rosemary. I'm really thrilled to be here. Very honored to be part of this podcast. Thank you again.
Well, tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to work at IAPMO.
Oh gosh. Okay. All right. Let's start with my first off college. I worked for this manufacturing company. It's called Tatong Company of North America. It's actually a Taiwanese company. They're probably very known for their rice cooker machine, but here in the United States, actually, they assembled computer. If you remember back in the days, we still have those desktop computer with Hewlett Packard. We assembled those. I remember we got this big celebration. We did 1 million unit assembly. That was really fun. Then after that, I worked again for another manufacturing company for a number of years. We do printed circuit board assembly. Then the last company I worked for before moving on to IAPMO actually was the quality manager for Berrycap North America. We actually do plastic injection molding for those bottle caps. So if you buy soda pop or water, we actually manufacture those bottle caps. It's interesting, a small world. So I went from electronics to plastic injection molding. And while working those, I also did some freelance. I'm doing some ISO 9001 auditing for some of the registrar certification body at the time, and also doing a little bit of a consulting work before joining IAPMO. Then IAPMO recruited me because I actually did help IAPMO on their very first initial obtaining accreditation to do an ISO 9000 audit back in the day. So that's kind of the nutshell story of where I'm coming from. I'm doing a lot of manufacturing, then moving on the other part as a certification body.
Okay. So tell us a little bit more about IAPMO, what kind of services you provide, and tell us about the company.
Well, IAPMO is actually, some of you who are familiar with IAPMO, it's actually originated almost 100 years ago. They were established in 1926. It's an old company. It started out with a group of plumbing inspector in Los Angeles. I know it started with plumbing. And they actually, if you go to the home, the major retailers for DIY for your home, you'll see a lot of logo with the UPC shield. Those are IAPMO. But fast forward now in the 21st century, we've gone, from plumbing to doing a lot of things, to building construction materials certification, to ISO 9001 certification, aerospace certification, and the new thing is a cybersecurity certification is coming right up also. And we've done a lot of helping a lot of manufacturing with the pre-shipment inspection, QC inspection. We do testing. So we're basically a one-stop shop for conformity assessment, and it has gone beyond plumbing, but we started with plumbing.
So when you say conformity assessment, you mean that the products are conforming to what the plan was, or the drawing, or the blueprint, or the standards?
Correct, with the product standards. And in some cases, when you're talking about something that goes into the building, obviously there's health and safety involved. So we have to also not just evaluate to the product standards, the performance-wise, is also to the applicable codes, whether it's the Uniform Plumbing Code or the building code, whatever the applicable code, that's where the product is going to get in place. Yes.
Okay, so sort of keeping us safe, right?
Indeed. That's the mission of IAPMO.
Yeah, we have a common client in the water industry.
That's right.
The machines, like when you fill up the fill station machines, like when you fill up your water bottle at the airport. And so you would characterize their their products and make sure that they were up to standard, so that keeps us safe when we're getting drinking water, right?
Correct. Yes, we did test the product. We followed all their construction. We even inspected the facility. We audited them. So we did everything to make sure the product is safe for the consumer.
Oh, okay. All right. Very interesting. And so important. This is one of those hidden services that you don't think about all the time, but so important to keep us all safe in the environment, and make sure that the products work as they are expected to work. So, a lot of organizations see these kind of things testing, and, I do a lot of work in trade compliance also.
Mhm.
And a lot of companies see this as a cost and a burden, and oh man, we got to do that too. But it's really value added services, right? Would you say that?
Indeed, indeed, and it is a value added, and a lot of people is thinking it's a cost. But just think it about this way: if you have your product safe, it's compliance. Number one, you have your competitive edge advantage, so you can market those that your product is tested and certified to the whatever the standard, the applicable code, and so forth. That's a marketing edge. Secondly, if you have your product tested, inspected, and all the quality requirement met, well, the likelihood for you to have a return product or a complaint is your risk is actually reduced tremendously. It is, and Rosemary, you've been in this industry for a long time. You know how much it costs when you have a return. It costs a lot more than actually doing all the preventive upfront. So
Right,
that's
right.
where we're coming. So we have to look at it that we want people to understand that we are your partner here. We want to make sure, to minimize those risks. The return on this investment is way outweighed all those issues. If you're just trying to save a few bucks here, but a return and your reputation, I might add that it's way higher.
There's a famous story, and I don't know if I'll get the exact quotes right, but there's a famous story about quality and at GE, and where they determined that if they were making refrigerators and they found a defect in the door, a dent or something like that, and they fixed it right on the manufacturing floor, it cost them about 3 cents to fix it there. If they waited till it was on the shipping dock and found the dent when it was ready to ship, it was
Mhm.
like 30 cents
That's right.
to fix the item. And if they waited all the way until it was ready for transport, it would be $3
Mm-hmm.
get the item back and to fix it and change it. And if it went all the way to the customer and didn't notice there was a dent until they took it out of the wrapping in the customer's home and had to fix it, it would be $300. So that's the kind of, astonishing investment that you would have to make if you weren't testing at the site. So it's really important to do that kind of quality inspection, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely correct. And we have stories about those. And people's like, I wish I have done this. And well, let's be smart about it. Let's think about it. This little cost that you put in up front will go a long way. And not to add to your story with G, you know how much frustration and your consumers, trust of your product, that can affect your future sales of the product as well. So that $300 is just a small end of that. Then you have this future sales that you might lose because of this return.
Yeah, very smart to consider all that stuff up front and to make sure that all of the inspections and the standards are met at the time of
Mhm.
manufacture. Yeah, yeah, for sure. So a lot of manufacturing is taking place in China in particular, but all over the world. Do you have inspectors all over the world?
Yes, we do. We do have a network of global inspector and auditor, depending on the need of the client. Because again, a lot of people got mixed up. Inspection, auditing, they're similar, but there are differences on that. Yes, we do have a manpower throughout globally.
So inspection would be hands-on at the manufacturing site, auditing would be after the fact. Is that right?
No, not necessarily. Auditing, it's more, you're looking more at the systems level. So you're looking more at the procedural, what goes in there, more the process wise. But when you're talking about inspection, your scoping is very much laser focused. So it's very more narrower. So that's when we do, like say, when we do before the product goes into the container, for example, or before shipment, then we do a quick inspection to touch, just a quick check before it goes in to make sure everything is good. That's more the inspection aspect of it. But the auditing, we actually would interview people, look at the process much more in depth. And normally it takes longer too.
Okay, all right, great. So a lot of companies, though, are moving out of China now. Are you seeing the development of new manufacturing locations in the world? Where are you seeing activity mostly now?
Well, it really varies. I do see movement out of China. As everybody knows, it's on the news every day now with the supply chain crisis. It depends on the product, but I do see quite a bit of a movement going on in the Latin America, which is near, for the reason because of all the supply chain issue, they're looking to Latin America. But Southeast Asia is still a very strong contender. I would say Indonesia, it has a lot of things going on there. Vietnam is another one. And the other country that is still very early on there, and I'm seeing some potential growth in there, is Cambodia also. So Indonesia, Vietnam, and Cambodia, but Cambodia still have years to go before they're up on their productivity capacity to produce.
Okay, okay, very interesting. So are there your testing to international standards though, right? Not just standards in each country?
That is correct. We do some international standards depending on the market. I mean, obviously we can't cover all the market in the world, but we do testing on some of the more common market. Obviously, like we have coverage for the North America, which means US, Canada, Mexico. We have Indonesia capability. We got Australia. We have Australia and New Zealand. We also cover some of the Middle East market because there is a lot of export going to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Dubai, this area. We do a little bit of the European as well market.
Okay. Yeah, Europe is a interesting place these days. I don't know whether to say it's super risky or if I just can't imagine trying to locate a manufacturing site anywhere in, say, Eastern Europe these days.
Yes,
It seems like it's really risky.
it
Yeah.
is. It is. And I'm seeing some movement, people getting out of the Eastern Europe. They're actually moving their manufacturing, as you heard in the news, unfortunately, very sadly, with the Ukraine situation, that has a lot of impact. So I'm seeing requests for people moving out of their manufacturing from those areas.
Yeah, yeah, it's going to have a huge impact, and there's so much raw materials coming out of, or were coming from Ukraine,
Yes.
neon and
Yeah.
aluminum, a lot of metal, base metal products, and all of that is gone
Yeah.
now.
It's very, very sad, but
It's very sad. Plus, it's going to have this huge effect on global supply chains also, because those are base materials that are then sent on to manufacturing sites, whether the manufacturing sites are in China or anywhere else in the world. Now there are going to be shortages in those base materials.
indeed, and what I'm seeing here, all the situation between the pandemic, the war that's going on, and the supply chain, it's not going to go away anytime soon. So it's very important. I mean, people say, "Oh, it's gonna get fixed in a year." It's not going to fix in a, let's face it. Let's be realistic here. It's not going to get fixed in a year. Even after the war is ended, you have to rebuild. It's not going to happen overnight. Those things is going to take decades. If you've seen what's going on TV. So my only advice is for those who outsource things is be smart. There's no one size fits all solution. You got to be prepared. Minimize your risk. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
And try to kind of look at your it's a little bit tough because I'm hearing a lot of right now, a lot of development construction. They're 6 months, a year delay. Why? Because they don't have materials. Well, if we were prepared ahead of time, we could have prevented a lot, or at least minimized those.
Yeah, and now with Shanghai being shut down again for the pandemic, um,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, the buildup of products at the port and the lack of manufacturing coming out of that area is going to make these big whipsaw effects in our global supply chain. I was telling someone the other day, we're likely to start seeing some of those effects and shortages pretty soon, within the next couple weeks. But the recovery
Oh
process,
God.
once they reopen and move forward, we're going to have all this stuff coming towards North America again, and have all those huge delays at the ports, and and so forth. Boy, supply chains are just going to be in chaos, I think, for quite a while.
For quite a while, unfortunately, yes. So that's why I want to kind of educate people, and thankful to have some podcasts like this. We can't fix the problems, the entire problem. It's just impossible. But if we can minimize the risks, that's the best we can do, right?
Absolutely, or try to anyway. So let's talk about North America and America in particular. I run the Reshoring Institute, so I'm always interested in how to help manufacturing in the U.S. How are you helping companies in America?
Well, in America, we do a lot of certification. As you know, we are a one-stop shop. We do a lot of ISO certification, ISO 9001, for example, and in the aerospace, because there's a lot of aerospace defense manufacturing in our land here in the US. So we do a lot of AS 9100 certification, for example. So those are very critical because the Department of Defense would require this type of certification to make sure that the product are good. We also
So before you sell the product to the government, they require certain certifications and
correct.
standards being met and so forth. Okay.
Yeah, and then on top of the DoD, you heard about all this issue with cybersecurity. So we're actually putting together a program that is going to be launched in a few months. Is cybersecurity. Those are mandatory. There's a lot of program that is being required, but our own government here, that the IAPMO is seeing the needs for our clients, and we're expanding those. Those are one of the aspects. And the other thing for the manufacturing here, we also do supplier audit in here to help to help the distributor retailers out there when they're qualifying a new supplier. We do quite a bit of those work as well. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's clear to people that work in supply chain, but a lot of people from the outside world don't realize that it's not just the final product that needs to be checked for quality. It's the entire supply chain. So you need to
Yes.
have quality parts coming from all of your suppliers, whether they're tier 1 or tier 2 or tier 3. All of that contributes to the final quality of the overall product. So yeah, really important that the whole supply chain is tested and audited, right?
Correct. It's a lot involved before you see the product actually on the shelf. There's a lot of behind the scene that gets that product from the inception to the raw materials all the way to actually getting in the store. There's a lot.
Yeah. Can you give us some examples of companies you worked with and success stories or failures even? We like to hear about when things go wrong and how we change that so we avoid those
Oh
missteps.
God. I like success story. How about we start with the success story first? We have a lot of great clients. We've worked with, in IAPMO, we have maybe 4,000 or 5,000 different clients. Okay. But we work with big clients, like brand name one. I don't know if I can mention this in this podcast. Can I mention company names?
Sure.
Okay, so we've worked with, you name it, from Kohler, you're familiar with Kohler, from Moen, Toto, American Standard, they're all our clients, okay, from the plumbing side. We work with, on the other side, we do with the backup, Hilti, you're familiar with Hilti, the building materials, Simpson Strong Tie, those are our clients. It's just a snapshot of some samples. But the one that I always remember are those little one, the mom and pops, the small businesses, they can be successful as well. I remember one of my early days client here. This is a father and son, a little small machine shop just around the corner here. It's not too far from our office here. And they were just a father, son, maybe with a couple nephews running this little machine shop. And they were like, they calling me as like, hey, I needed to get this thing called ISO 9000. What is that? So we went through the process. We got them this. It's like, okay. And it's like, hey, I have this opportunity. And because we build relationship, I like to have relationship and help them to grow. It's not just about getting a certificate on the wall. It's like, you know what? I heard about this thing. I want to start bidding job for aerospace because I heard those are better for our company. What is this AS 9100? Those are the aerospace standards. I said, well, we can do that, but we have to do this. And then they went through the process. And I was so happy when they start winning contracts from this aerospace company. Those are like something that makes me really, really happy to see that we can help them grow. You like the success stories. And they were like, man, this certificate, and they took it to heart because I have clients that there are clients that just want to put a certificate on the wall, and they're client who actually understood the requirement, want to implement too hard, and they can get a lot out of it. And that makes me really happy. I know I'm like, I get teary when I heard the stories, and that makes me really happy because we actually helping them to grow and be not just this 2-3 people machine shop. They can grow. Sky's the limit.
So any company that needs standards or has it as part of their contract or wants to pursue a standard can come to you and you'd help teach them about what they need and then help them through the process, right?
We have some training, but we cannot consult for them. I have to be careful because we're an independent body. So what we do is that we go through, explain to them the process or to get certification without consulting, because we can't consult. When they do need a consulting help, we will just give them a list of names and they can talk to them and find the consultant that fits what they need.
Yes, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, great, awesome. Any final thoughts, Shirley? Anything else you'd like us to know before we wrap up?
I do have a little bit of thoughts here, for those that, because I have some stories about the sad part when people kind of trying to save a little bit of money, and this happened just a few weeks ago. Just think it about this way. We offered that program to do the pre-shipment inspection, ahead of time, which would be minimal, okay, amount. And they decided, oh, we can forego with this. And then they went on and get tons of product shipped to the warehouse. And this is one of the retailer. And unfortunately, lo and behold, on a Friday late afternoon, you got a phone call, it's like frantically like, oh my God, this product isn't weld correctly. We got this thing, but it's already here. So what do you do? So you have to spend money now. We have to send inspector to actually inspect, but now the cost has gone up. So just something food for thoughts, you have to think about all this after effect. You try to save a little bit here, it might cost a lot. And secondly, when you're trying to find a inspection agency or certification body, there's no one size fits all. You have to interview them, make sure they fits what you need. Because at the end of the day, they are your partner. You have to find somebody who you can partner with, and so you can get the best service you can get for your company.
That's good advice all across the supply chain. You want the best partner and you need to qualify them. I see very often our clients are picking partners because the marketing materials or because it look good or whatever, but they're not the right partners and they haven't done an in-depth review and they get stuck at the end. So yeah, really important.
Really important. Yeah. They just go by the name just because so-and-so used them. It's not like that. You have to talk to them, make sure this is your partner for long-term.
Right. Uncover what you can and make sure they're a good partner for you going forward. Like we would expect IAPMO to be a good partner with our clients. Yes.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we really felt like, we have to be their partner because, our customer is what makes us today. So it's important to understand our customer. That's why every time we have a customer call, we spend the time to understand. We're not consulting, but to understand what they really need. And we want to deliver exactly what they need.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Shirley. It was really interesting to talk to you. Can you give us your contact information for IAPMO?
Sure. I tried to put the contact right behind my screen here, if you can see that, but I do have an email address. I can provide it to you, Rosemary. It's shirley.dewi@iapmort.org. That's my direct. You can contact me anytime and I'll be happy to help.
Okay, great. Thank you so much again. Really appreciate it. And you can listen to more podcasts on women in manufacturing, the website, which is www.womenandmfg.com. And you can reach me, Rosemary Coates, at rcoates@reshoringinstitute.org, and visit our website, www.reshoringinstitute.org, where we publish all of our manufacturing research and all about manufacturing in America. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.